All right, so of course, if you multiplied x plus 2 by 1, it wouldn't change, would it? So its slope is 1. What's the next one? Negative 4. 0, because y plus 0 is y. And what's the slope? 1/2. Oh, look at this guy over here. Oh, sneaky, sneaky. What's the starting point? Negative 5. Negative 3. And slope is negative 1. And then I threw in a nice easy one just to bring you back to 1, 10, 4/5. That's the same thing. Actually, 4/5 is a better answer. Because 4/5 isn't anything. Nobody says, can I have 1/2 of your pizza, please? They say, can I have half? Nice job. I'm going to get that recorded because you don't hear that a lot in math class. Nice job, Ethan Anderson. You should turn it up real loud right then when your dad and mom walk by. Not right before where it says you don't hear that a lot in math class. Just that part. Nice job, Ethan Anderson. There's a second one for you, too. That Ethan Anderson. Boy, I wish I had a class full of Ethan Andersons. Forever. All right, turn the page over. Let's actually do some graphing here. Pretty sure I'm the teacher.
And this is why it's comedy and not teaching.
That hurts, man. All right.
No, I wasn't teaching.
Okay, so listen to me and listen to me closely. All I need to do is what I already know how to do. But instead of starting at the y-intercept, I'm starting at another point, right? So, where am I starting at? -1 and +2. Now, I explained yesterday why it's -1 and +2. If you don't remember, that's okay. If all you remember is the fact that the signs need to be reversed, that's fine, because that'll get you through. All right? So I start there, and then I have my slope of 2/3, which means, of course, rise over run. So I put my dot at -1, 2. Where is it? Left 1, up 2. Now wait for it. I'm going to change the scale. That is 1. I'll zoom in. Just for fun, I'm doing this to you for extra practice. So you can see how far I've moved it. So this is where it's going to get a little funky. You guys tell me where that dot needs to go now. By squares. How many squares do I got to go?
-3 squares, so 3 to the left.
I'm going to zoom in a little. So I need to be at -1, 2. So where do I go here? 3 to the left. 1, 2, 3. There's my -1. And then up 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Excellent. Now, since these two scales are the same, can I just count squares to do my slope? Yes. So I go down where? Down 2. 1, 2, and right 3?
Left 3.
Which is it?
Left
It's a
3.
positive slope. So down 2 and which
left.
is it?
It's left.
It's
And
left.
big.
Because you need a negative and a negative to keep the slope positive. If I went the other way, it'd be up 2 and over 3. What if the scales were different? Could I just count squares?
No.
No, I would have to count values. Do you understand? All right. Who just said no? Yo. All right. Word. Okay. Next one. What's my starting point? -5. Negative 1. Okay. No change in scale this time. Where do I go?
To the left 5. Down 1.
Down 1. What's my slope?
Negative 2 over 1.
Negative 2. Why is it negative 2 over 1? It says right there it's negative 2.
All numbers have a 1 under them.
I need the rise and the run. So negative 2 would be down 2 and then right or left? Right 2. And then just to make sure,
Right 1.
yeah, right 1. Then what? Do another one. Where would that be? Up 2, left 1. And there's my line there. Can everybody graph?
Yeah.
Okay, now wait a moment before we go on. Please recognize that there are two distinct things you need to be able to do in this unit, right? You need to be able to understand how stuff goes from equation to graph, but you also need to be able to move the equations around, don't you? So there's algebra and graphing here. And we're going to use both of them in number 9. Read that question. There are a couple of very important points in that question to tell you how to do it. What are they? Perpendicular is a very important word in that, because perpendicular tells us something, doesn't it? What does it tell us?
That the lines are the slopes are reciprocal.
The slopes are opposite reciprocals, right? So if I have one slope, I automatically know the other one if I do what to it? Flip it upside down and change the sign. Excellent. There's another very important piece of information in that very first sentence. What is it? What about the y-axis? They cross at the y-axis, which means what do they share? A y what, Josh? A y-intercept. If they cross at the y-axis, they must cross at the same intercept, yes? So if I know one slope and y-intercept, do I automatically know the other slope and y-intercept? I do, don't I? How do I find the slope?
Y equals.
How do I find the slope for perpendicular, Tasha? Flip it and change the sign. And the y-intercept's the same, right? Okay, so now, what form should I use? Even though we've been using point-slope form, what would be a better choice here?
Y equals mx.
Y equals mx plus b. So let's start with line 1, which we'll do in black. What should I do to line 1 to make it easier to deal with?
Make the y by itself.
Move the y by itself. So that y would come over here, yes? And what would I get?
2x plus.
Y equals 2x plus 8. Could we graph that?
Yeah.
Graph it. Where would it go?
You go 8 up.
8. And then what?
Down 2 over 1 or
What's over?
down 2 left 1.
Down to left 1. Can I go up or would I go off the graph?
You go up.
I'd go off the graph. So I'm just going to go down. And there's my line, yes? Okay, now what do we know about line 2? We know some stuff about it. Do we know the slope of line 2?
X.
It has to be perpendicular.
Negative 1 over 2.
The slope of line 2.
Wow. Does it oh yeah, it does.
Oh yeah. I'm saving it so I have a file of evidence to send to Microsoft for how piece of crappy their technology is. Has to be perpendicular to line 1, which means if line 1 is 2 over 1, what is line 2? 1 over 2, negative. So now I have the slope of line 2. So line 2 we know is going to be y equals mx plus b, right? Do I know the m? What is it? Negative 1 half x plus. Do I know the y-intercept?
Yeah.
What is it?
8.
8. And that is the answer. Now, why do you think would I give you this question in point-slope form when it was doable with slope-intercept form? I want to show you something with it. What is the name of the form we just studied? Point-slope form, right? Which means slope and a point will work, right? Slope-intercept form uses slope and a point as well, doesn't it? Which point? The y-intercept, one specific point. Point-slope form uses what point? Any point. Is the intercept a point? Yes. Watch what I mean. Point-slope form is this. Right? Right? And these are the starting points supposed to be, yeah? Okay. So if I fill this in, y, what was the y-intercept? Y minus a y point. What was it? What was the y point we had here? 8 equals, what was the slope?
2 over 1.
No, we're doing line 2 now. Negative 1/2 x minus, what was the x point I had? 0. Everyone agree? Okay. Y minus 8 equals negative 1/2. What is x minus 0? X. Now what can you do with that? What if I move that over there? What do I get? And see how they're exactly the same? I want to show you something else. What do we know about line 2? Well, we know it's at that point right there, correct? 0, 8. And what's its slope? Negative 1, so down 1 over 2, right? Down 1 over 2, right? Down 1 over 2, right? That point right there is 6, 5. Agreed? Everyone agree? Okay. Put that into there. And what would I get? Y minus what?
5.
5, because it's y minus whatever the y point is, equals, what was my slope? Negative 1/2 x minus what? 6. Everyone agree? That's point-slope form, right? I would go to positive 6, positive 5, and do a slope of negative 1/2. Everyone cool? Watch. Y minus 5 equals negative 1/2 x. What's negative 1/2 x times negative 6?
3.
Positive 3, right? Now what would happen if I move that 5 over?
It would become positive 5.
And what would I do with that 3 and that 5? And I would get y equals negative 1/2 x plus 8. Please notice that point-slope form works exactly the same as slope-intercept form, except slope-intercept form makes us use a single point on the whole infinite amount of points the line has. Whereas point-slope form works with every point. Do you all understand? Everybody cool? All right. I'm going to stop, but I've noticed something about you people. What I have noticed is when I assign these pages, nobody does them. I can only assume that it's because it seems overwhelming to you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a broken down bit of that work. I want you to do, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to shrink it down a little. What I have here is, if it's in yellow, You just need to do one or two of them. They're super easy. You'll figure it out. If it's green, you should do that whole question. So 4, 5, 6, and 7, A through D, A through F, you probably don't need to do them all. But 9, A and B, 11, A, B, C, D, you should be trying all of them. Are 10 and 8 highlighted? Okay. Just, how about you wait a sec, Nick? And then 16 to 23, you should try 3 of them. Now listen to me. What I've highlighted here is what I would expect every single one of you to know. If you just want to get out of Math 10, stop there. If you are trying to go into Pre-Calculus 11 or you care about your grades, I'd recommend doing more. Okay? Right? All right. Now, there is one other thing I wish to remind you of that almost every kid forgets. Y equals mx plus b. We're cool with that. Y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. We're cool with that. Here is what a lot of you kids forget. M is a whole bunch of stuff, isn't it? M and M are rise over run, aren't they? But aren't they also they are, aren't they? So could I not put that in for M? Everybody with me? So as long as you know any 2 points, are you also able to find M? Yes. And if you have any 2 points, do you also have y's and x's to use point slope form? Right? Go. And I'm giving you, look at that, man. Holy 45 minutes to get this done.
And it's on